So anyway, we got that done. Then he passed a budget that was just horrendous. You know, that budget was going to, the Doobie-Douglas team wanted to shift the entire cost of the teacher's retirement obligation, a retirement fund, back to the local property tax base, not just last year, but for every year going forward. That was $70 million a year on your property taxes. Would have been the biggest property tax increase in the history of the state of Vermont. Terrible idea. There were other problems too. We said no, we overrode them. I think that sort of reset the stage of the chairs in the Titanic, frankly. Because, you know, all of a sudden the governor goes, wow, I can't just do whatever I want.
Announces retirement that summer.
I think he decided it was time to go, but I think the second part is that when we did the budget this year, he understood that it wasn't either his way or the highway, that we had to work together to get it done, and we did, and that's a much better way to do things. But we had to take the drastic action to get to the point where it was going to be a 50-50 engagement.
Sure. Now the Vermont Yankee vote, which was the last winter we just had. Nice thing about that, and I'd love to see more of that kind of, you know, it's how there's C-SPAN in Washington. To actually see it, a number of websites live streamed the proceedings, so we could actually see what was going on there. And so, to help clarify, your role as Senate President Pro Tem is almost like the majority leader in the Senate?
Yeah, or the Speaker of the House. I mean, it's your job to decide what moves when, how, and if it moves at all.
Right.
You know, you're kind of like the coach and the director.
Sure.
And that's another example. You know, I mean, I get tough things done. That's why I'm running for governor. And people often say about Pete Shumlin, well, you know, he's a politician. You know, he kicks barn doors down to get things done.
It's a dirty word.
You know, as if it's a dirty word. And you know, my point is, listen, I try to do whatever I do well, whether it's business or politics. And my question is, do you want a governor who's not a good politician? You know, if you hire a roofer because your roof's leaking, do you hire the roofer who has the reputation of getting you the 40-year dry so you're not leaking anymore? Or do you want the one who usually leaves and the roof's still leaking, you know? When you drop your kid off, as we've all done as parents, you know, the first day of school, do you want the teacher who has a reputation of teaching the kid how to read, or the one that maybe doesn't get them there?
An anti-teacher.
Right. So the point is, on Vermont Yankee, listen, we have this company, Energy Louisiana, who can't tell the truth, who's leaking tritium, cobalt, cesium, and other nuclear substances into the ground in Vermont, who refuses to fill up the decommissioning fund because they claim that they can't afford to, so we're going to be stuck paying to take the thing away after they promised to do it. But add to the fact that they paid their CEO, Wayne Leonard, $350 million in the last 3 years in stock options to take care of his family, but they won't take care of us. And the list goes on and on. I said, you know, we got to vote on this thing, and we're going to vote now. Well, you got to remember, the governor, Entergy, had all been saying Pete Shumlin should hold a vote. Why won't he hold a vote?
Right.
Then these mysterious.
They were picking this year.
They were picking. They wanted just vote. I mean, governor is quoted in July Rutland Herald saying Pete Shumlin has a responsibility to vote on that plant. Vermont needs to know its energy future. Well, he was right. So we voted. Well, all of a sudden, when they figured out I had 26 no votes and 4 yes, they didn't want to vote anymore. That was all of a sudden slimy politics, you know? So the point is, we need a governor who's going to get tough things done. I think we made the right judgment on Yankee. Now we have an extraordinary opportunity to move renewable energy, create jobs, and make Vermont a leader in the race to get off our addiction to oil. And if we don't do that, our planet will be unlivable. So it's both an economic and a moral imperative.
Now, in that, also getting an opportunity to watch those live streams of the proceedings there, Brian Doobie has a role. I mean, he was there, he said stuff, did stuff, but to clarify the lieutenant governor's role in, he has some, there's some more than ceremonial role there, or help me understand that.
The lieutenant governor presides over the Senate. So they don't get to vote unless it's a tie.
Okay.
And you know, truthfully, I've worked with Democratic lieutenant governors and Republican lieutenant governors, and obviously they have a bigger role when they're in the majority. If they're in the minority, they sort of preside. They don't have that much action.
Right.
In that particular case, you know, Lieutenant Governor Doobie did all he could to try to derail the vote, because he wants to relicense Vermont Yankee. I've joked to him he'd want to relicense it if it was melting down, you know, because it's so far away.
That's right. It's near Putney, right?
It was my backyard. But the point is, you know, the Governor Douglas and Brian Doobie's energy policy for the last 8 years has been this simple, Michael. Let's always do what we've always done. because what we've always done is what we should always do.
Right.
That's their energy policy. We license the old nuke, or even if it's leaking tritium and cobalt, cesium into the ground. So what? It's far away from Vermont. It's almost in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Cut another deal with Hydro-Quebec and let's go home. And what they don't get is that, first of all, the nuclear is tired and it needs to be retired. But the second part is that I'm convinced that if you look forward to where we're going in energy policy, we're going to be having, Vermont and the rest of the country is going to be moving to renewable, community-based, much smaller generated power.
Decentralized.
That's where
right,
we're going. Decentralized power.
Right.
That's where we're going. That's where the job opportunities are. That's where the direction is. And, when I was a kid growing up in Windham County, my parents were moving from the farmhouse to a tighter house that didn't leak quite as badly. Mm-hmm. And I remember they were putting in a heating system, and everyone said, "Oh gosh, they're building that nuclear power plant. Go electric. It's going to be too cheap to meter." Well, that didn't work out. That didn't work out that well. But I do believe that Vermont and the nation will be moving to cheaper power as we start, once we pay for the infrastructure, as we start to move to solar and small hydro and small biomass and wind.
The future actually looks better.
The future looks better than the past.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting the word. We just have a minute, so we got to close with this question. It's a character question, and we need to know where you come down on the issue of Star Trek versus Star Wars. What's your preference?
I'm a Star Wars guy.
You are, and why?
Yeah. I just think that they had their act together.
Yeah.
Period.
Okay. Okay. Any favorite episodes or characters or any? Anything close to your heart there?
When I go, I'm a guy that looks forward, and it's really true. I'm not just spinning you. Right. And when I come out of a movie, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, or any episode, I very rarely look back at it. So, I have friends who can recite every episode, and I'm thinking, what's Vermont's next energy policy? What are we going to do about healthcare? Or if I'm in my business, what are we going to do to make a buck next week?
Right.
So I don't spend much time looking back.
Okay. So you don't have
I'm an old
figurines at home and
no, I never did the figurines.
Helmets and stuff. Okay.
I was counting money, and I'll be as good as governor with the taxpayers' money as I've been with my own. I'm fiscally conservative and very tight.
All righty. We'll close it right there. That was very enlightening and a lot of fun to
well, it's great to be
get
here.
Caught up and get some perspective on the last couple of years and the next, 7 weeks? Are we counting weeks?
7 weeks to the primary. We need your help.
Yeah.
Get out and vote. ShumlinForGovernor.com. We need your help.
All right, and there's the website right there. Good night, everyone. VTblogosphereTV signing off.
Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do. This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me. And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.